Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashodanandana Brajarandarana Yashodanandana Brajarandarana Jamuna Tira Bhurachari Jamuna Tira Bhurachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashodanandana Brajarandarana Yashodanandana Brajarandarana Jamuna Tira Bhurachari Jamuna Tira Bhurachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnu Pada Bhagavansa Parivakacharya Ashtor Sarashishi Maji Varangi Sri Bhaktivedanta Manor Ki Anaudiya Vaishnava Ki Namacharya Sri Hajakar Ki Pemsi Gosi Ki Chaitanya Prabhupada Sri Arvigadar Hasa Sri Gauravargani Ki Gauravargani Ki Jai Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram All glories to the devotees, all glories to the devotees, all glories to the devotees. Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Third canto, chapter 5, text number 15. So I'll just chant the verse. Oh, you have it up there? Is that what you do these days?
We have it.
Oh, I see. This chapter is called Vidura's Talks with Maitreya. So it's all about pure devotees speaking. Okay, don't worry. Don't worry, we can just do. I'll just chant the verse. Tadasya kushravar sharvadatu hari katamiva katashu sharam udritya pushpebhya ishvato bando shivayanaha kitaya tita kirtihe. I should just go straight on. It's okay. Unless you want to chant that verse? Okay. I should just chant. Atat. Therefore. Asya. His. Kushvarma. O Maitreya. Sharma Datur. A one who awards good fortune. Hare. Of the Lord. Kata. Topics. Eva. Only. Katashu. Of all topics. Saram. The essence. Udritya. By quoting. Pushpabhya. From the flowers. Eva. Like that. Ata bandhu. O friend of the distressed. Shivaya. For welfare. Naha. Of us. Kitaya. Kindly describe. Tita. Pilgrimage. Kitaha. Of glorious. Translation. O Maitreya, O friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord. Please repeat. O Maitreya, O friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki. There are many topics for different persons in different modes of material nature, but the essential topics are those in relationship with the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, materially affected conditioned souls are all more or less averse to topics of the Supreme Lord because some of them do not believe in the existence of God. And some of them believe only in the impersonal feature of the Lord. In both cases, there is nothing for them to say of God. Both the non-believers and the impersonalists deny the essence of all topics. Therefore, they engage in topics of relativity in various ways, either in sense gratification or in mental speculation. For the pure devotees like Vidura, the topics of both the mundaners and the mundane speculators are useless in all respects. Thus, Vidura requested Maitreya to talk of the essence only, the talks of Krishna and nothing else. Hare Krishna. Omagyanathamandasya Agandana Shlagaya Chakshusumalatam Dena Tasmai Sri Gurave Sri Chaitanya Manovitam Tapitam Dena Buddha Swami Bhagavan Dhamanti Swami Namo Jabalaya Gurava Buddha Swami Gurgavinda Swami Dhamani Namo Jabalaya Gurava Bhaktivedanta Swami Dhamani Gaula Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. So this is a very nice verse here. Fortunately, we are in a parampara, even parampara praptam. We come from a great tradition. A great tradition of Vaishnava academics who studied very deeply many topics, not only of this spiritual nature, but also of the material world, because you know in the scriptures it says, knowledge means to know nescience alongside. Yes, thank you. Alongside knowledge, you must understand what is not knowledge. If you don't know what is not knowledge in the sense of, if you don't know what ignorance is, you may be allured into ignorance. Just like this verse it says, so many people are interested in other topics outside of Krishna. Well, why is that? Actually, there's nothing outside Krishna. Can you name one thing that's outside Krishna? There is nothing outside Krishna. Even nescience is said in the scriptures, and it's the backside of Krishna. So there's nothing outside Krishna, and everything can be connected to Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada famously said, as he was preparing to finish his Leela here, and go on to further Leelas wherever, that everything is happening by the supreme desire of Krishna. This consciousness is Krishna consciousness. So, whether you can take any topic you like and relate it to Krishna. Now, fortunately, in our parampara, we have so many wonderful Vaishnavas, and they are satam. You know that verse, satam basangam virya sambhado vantikritkana rasana kata. We can hear Rasa, we can hear conversations about transcendental topics from such persons. So we have your own Guru Devs, you have Shiksha and Diksha. So Shiksha, Diksha. First, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada makes the point, no difference between Shiksha and Diksha. If he is speaking on topics of Krishna, then he is acting as Guru. Because there's different levels of speaking on the topic of Krishna. Therefore, you might get one conversation. This verse, Satam Pasangam Virya Sambharo Vantikit Kana Vasana. If you have a devotee, supposing you have a group of devotees who are beginner devotees, let's say, we have Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. So you have a group of beginner devotees, they're discussing Krishna. Their conversation is very nice, and it'll take you to a certain level of Krishna. Then you have Madhyam devotees discussing about Krishna. That'll be a different type of discussion, but it'll also be about Krishna. Then you have Uttamas discussing about Krishna. So that particular verse, it is a fact that it applies to all devotees, but you have to discriminate in one sense, because you might want to find out about specific topics. And if you want to find out, the thing is, if you are not inquisitive, then don't worry. The sign of a devotee is that he's very inquisitive. He wants to know. What is that inquisitiveness coming from? That is the mercy of Krishna, that you become inquisitive. It's not easy to become inquisitive about topics of Krishna or have a liking for them. Not easy, because you have so many lives, Pranamanda, Paramati, Gauna, Bhagavanji, Guru, Krishna, Sai, Bhag, running all over the universes. And then you might, it says in this verse, by good fortune, doesn't it? Just say, yeah. Did you say that in this verse? I think it is. Yeah, learn for the good of the people over the world. I think he mentions by good fortune somewhere. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami was very fond of quoting that. By good fortune, you come in touch with devotees. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Jaiva Dharma, the original occupation of the soul. Dharma? Jaiva Dharma. What is the original occupation of the soul? That is, that book is discussion on that topic. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, he wanted that book be distributed all over the world, as well as the Chaitanya Shikshamrita by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Have we done that yet? No. So come on, who wants to take up that task? Any one of you? Okay, you do it. You said it in front of Prabhupada. That's very good. That's very good, Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta will be wonderfully pleased with you that you so enthusiastically did say. And actually it will take place, such translations of all our acharyas, because we have Srila Prabhupada, you have your own guru, you have Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. If you have an opportunity, has anyone read the works of Bhaktivedanta Swami on the life of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta? He has 3 volumes. Have you read that? Huh? You have it? But you've seen. Well, I recommend every single devotee to get that book because it's a fantastic read and it really explains to you why Srila Prabhupada did what he did and where he's getting all his inspiration and direction from, how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj under the direction of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had the task of introducing Krishna consciousness, and we can see here in this verse, the materialists are so absorbed in so many other topics, and mostly they're atheistic these days. So he wanted to meet modernity, he wanted to meet the modern world, and he wanted to introduce this very high topic of the science of self-realization in a very scientific and in a literary way, in an artistic way. And not only that, but he wanted to introduce, believe it or not, Devi Varnashram. He wanted to change the whole society, because Krishna consciousness is not only about, well, the thing is, actually I wrote an article recently called The Peripheral and the Core Aspects of Krishna consciousness. What is the peripheral goals and the core? If you look at it, if you look at what Bhaktivinoda Thakur has done, and Bhaktisiddhanta and Prabhupada, they're meeting the peripheral, because when you're speaking about Devi Varnashram and spreading culture everywhere, it runs very deep all over society. For instance, it also takes care of the political systems, the Varna ashram. And is it not that the world is crying out for good leadership now? Huh? Look at the state of the world. There's wars everywhere. There's exploitation everywhere. It's really, really bad, actually. And people are being misled by so many foolish men. And misinformation is going about everywhere, especially on the internet these days. You pick up your computer, and how do you know the information you're reading? What is the epistemological system that you have, sir, for understanding what you read on the internet? You don't know. How do you, as Vedananda Maharaj used to say, you say, how do you know? How do you know you know? And how do you know you know you know? This is a good question to ask me. How do you know you know? You can ask a Darwinian scientist, how do you know you know? How do you know that mutations take place in the genome, and it's an unguided process, and it's randomly taking place, and that these A's, C's, T's and G's make a particular protein, and that protein mutates and ends up in a cell, and that cell transforms into a certain body of a certain. How do you know you know? Can you produce such evidence for this? No. What they can produce only is the observations of Charles Darwin when he rightly saw that what's called micro evolutions taking place. That there were some slight changes to the environment and also to the general stock of people, and certain types of bodies suit certain environments, and therefore the ones that don't suit that environment so well eventually might die out. And therefore there's a slight change, but there's no evidence whatsoever for macro evolution where you have, for instance, as Charles Darwin said, he once saw a bear with its mouth open catching flies. So he thought, Then he began to speculate, maybe that bear went into the sea and started to open its mouth catching plankton. And after many, 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 many years and different changes that are taking place in the body, that bear turned into a whale. And he seriously thought like this. But there's no evidence so this is what we call by lack of knowledge. People are caught up in that topic, and when that topic is taught in schools, which it has been for the last 100 or so years, people begin to think there is no God. Everything happened by chance, and there's just random mutations taking place, and this is the education system has been infiltrated by such demoniac speculators. And therefore, after many, many years of that, naturally people's interest in God consciousness disappears. So they think, what is the point? Because there's probably no God anyway. Therefore, I should just enjoy my life. And one life, as Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, for those that spend their days in festive mirth and joy, the dazzling, deadly liquid forms their hearts. Isn't you seen that verse? Their hearts for their employ. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he's feeling sorry for people that are captivated by bodies. And even scientifically, what is a body? A body is made up of just atoms, isn't it? I mean, you're looking at me, I'm looking at you, but actually, when I look at you, I'm just looking at light waves. The light waves are hitting my eyes, and then that light wave hits a part of my brain that transforms an electric signal to another, and therefore I see. What is this? This is not... The soul doesn't see like that. What the soul sees is spirit. We cannot see spirit, we can only see material things. And as Sadhuputta probably rightly says, if any of you go on Sadhuputta's YouTube channel here, raise your hands if you go on to Sadhuputta Prabhu's YouTube channel. Jolly good, one or two we have over here. Well, I recommend everyone to do so because he's one of the fantastic devotees of ISKCON that if you ever go to the Mayapur temple, the big temple being built, do you know who's responsible for organizing the whole of that planetarium? You don't know? What is this? You're a part of ISKCON, you don't know how? Huh? Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, we ought to know. And how did he get the information? How do you know he knows? How do you know he knows? How did he get the information? One time Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada said to him, can you go to South India, go to the Ramanuja Acharyas, the Ramanuja in South India, they're very puckered down there, knowledgeable Brahmins. He said, go down there and research the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam. And therefore we need to understand fully how that 5th canto is working. So this is, I relate this to Krishna because everything is related to Krishna. And like I was saying earlier, all topics are related to Krishna, and you can connect Krishna to all topics. So he went down to South India and he researched what is the Vedic cosmology. Sariputta has a book called Vedic Cosmology. You could read that book. And inside he will tell you so many things, interesting topics. I won't get into that right now, but therefore, the Vedic Planetarium is situated in that Mayapur project, and he said that we better watch out because the Hare Krishna movement are centering their whole movement around the Mayapur. And we're challenging modern scientists in so many ways because we're saying that the planetary systems work like this, and so on and so forth. And fortunately for him, and fortunately for us, if you go to Harvard University, you can hear Lisa Randall speaking, and she's a renowned professor, a physicist, a theoretical physicist, and she speaks on multidimensional universes. So I think, oh, thank God for that, because she's recognizing some things in the Bhagavatam. Because you will, like we were saying before, you can only see so much with your physical, right? So it's described in the Vedas that there are the higher, lower, and middle planetary systems, but there's also limitations to one's material senses. For instance, we cannot see as a cat sees at night. We cannot hear the high pitch of a dog's whistle. So our senses are limited and they're conditioned. That we have to accept is logical. Yes, I have limited conditioned senses and I can't see or understand everything that everyone else sees around me. It's logical. So you follow Nyaya logic. Nyaya logic means if you see smoke, if you see smoke, what do you presume? Yes. You presume fire. If you see, taking that matter further, if you see codes, what do you presume? If you see a set of codes, what would you assume from that? You would actually assume, well, if there's a set of codes, there must be intelligence behind it, wouldn't you? So things like that. We must follow logic and we must follow proper thinking. So Sariputta Prabhu did this research, and also Lisa Randall. She follows logic like that. She says, if we can't see everything, how do we know what's out in the universe? Therefore, the concept of dark energy and what's the other one? Dark energy and dark matter. These things, they have the concept that there's some things we can't really see. And there's one Indian scholar who began to write a paper about dark matter and dark energy, conceiving the idea that it could well be subtle energy. Because we know that that from in the beginning there was the Word was with God. And in the Vedas it says, right, sound was the first, wasn't it? First there was sound, from sound comes ether, from ether comes from fire, was it? Yeah. No, from ether comes air, from air comes fire, from fire comes water. And so there's a progressive system going on here. And so there's certain things you can see, certain things you can't see. And there is an ethereal plane. If you speak to scientists about the ether, they don't understand it. In fact, they think that there's not even the mind, that the mind is just matter. It's just a combination of neurons firing in the brain. But that's all speculation. But the reason I say all this is because they're caught up in these topics. But these topics can all be related to Krishna. And the devotees of the Bhaktivedanta Institute study these things. And not only do they study things, but there's another society that's taken the matter even further. and a lot further, and we can study their works. That's called the Discovery Institute. If you ever go on to YouTube, go on to the Discovery Institute, and you will find many, many videos and explanations as to how the material energy is working. So this is all very interesting, so we can relate all this to Krishna. So, the essence of spiritual life is that Srila Prabhupada is this satam, what's that verse? Satam pasang. I know about devotees who like to hear about chanting. Satam Bhagavad Gita. Ah? So, can't hear you. Yes, say that one. Yeah. Satsam Kirtyantamam Yantascha Tritavrata Navasyam Chastamam Bhakta Nitya Yukta. These devotees, they always chanting my glories. So this is the symptom. This is like Maitreya and Vidura. They like to chant the glories of Krishna. They want to know. Who is Krishna? What's he doing? In the Chintamani, what's that book called? What is that book called where Krishna is he comes to set up a toll booth. You know that book? He comes to set up a toll booth and he wants to tax. Chintamani, I can't remember the book. Anyway, there's one book, and the beginning of that book, someone out there will know what I'm talking about on the internet. Chintamani, Danikeli Chintamani. So that book begins, the beginning of the book is a lady called Kundalatu who's in a garden, and she says to Shukshmati, I think her name is, I probably got that name wrong. She says, what is Radha Krishna doing now? That was her question. And this is a very good question for us to ask. And you might think, oh, why would we want to ask that? What's Radha Krishna doing now? That was her question. So Kundalata, and then her maidservant went into meditation. She became very ecstatic and she began to tell the story of what is going on right now. And what was going on was that there was a ceremony taking place where Balaram's father was doing a ceremony for the protection of him, for the protection of Balaram and Krishna, and there was this big yajna, and they were inviting people along to this yajna, and everyone thought, yes, this is a good idea. We must protect Krishna and Balaram, because this is natural. If you have a child, you want to protect them. So they were. There was this big ceremony. So Radharani and her friends who were in a bower, sort of having a nice time together, they thought they would go along to the ceremony because they also wanted to they wanted to go and get the blessings of the Brahmins. So they took off into this ceremony and they put these big water pots on their head and they all went off to offer a sacrifice as part of the ceremony. So as they were going along towards this particular sacrifice, what happened was that Krishna and his friends got to hear about this. So as Radharani and all our friends were wandering towards the sacrifice pit, Krishna thought he would have some fun. So he set up a toll booth. And this is described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Maharaj and Rupa Goswami. They set up a toll booth, and Krishna declared that you cannot come any further unless you pay tax to me. So this teasing was going on. And these Radharani friends, who are you to tell us we can't go where we're going? Why do you? And it's like that. So you read the book and you'll see. But in that particular Leela, what's wonderful is that Krishna starts to tax Radharani for every one of her qualities. So he said, okay, for your beautiful hair, I will tax you so many thousands of dollars. For your eyelashes, I will tax you this much. For the way you walk, I will tax you this much. And for the way you cook, I will tax you. And so he went all the way through her qualities. And so she was, it was actually a great compliment to Radharani. And everyone got to hear the glories of Srimati Radharani and every single detail of her life. So she was kind of embarrassed. But this is very nice and actually when you think about it, that's just exactly what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. When he came later, because first Krishna came to his Leelas, and then later Mahaprabhu came. And Mahaprabhu came because he wanted to pay back the glories of Srimati Radharani and all the gopis, and the great pleasure that and the love and the devotion that they'd given him, because he found actually that he could not pay back. Srila Gauragovinda Swami mentions actually he could pay back all the go, but he couldn't pay back Radharani. So you heard that? He could reciprocate with everybody, he couldn't quite reciprocate Radharani. So therefore he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and just like Krishna in the Dhanakali Chintamani glorifying Radharani, he wanted to glorify. And the way you pay someone back, if you love them very dearly, is to glorify them, isn't it? If someone does something wonderful, you go and then spread their glories. That's like paying them back. So that's what Mahaprabhu did. So he was searching for himself. So Mahaprabhu came to pay back Radharani, to understand her depths of her love, and then he was Adurya, Madhurya, the sweet Madhurya, and the Adurya, the mercifulness. So Radharani is very merciful. So Krishna, in the sweet Madhurya Ras, he wanted to distribute that in a very magnanimous way, and that's what Mahaprabhu was doing. He served two purposes. He not only was searching after himself, because Radharani saw something in Krishna that Krishna didn't know he had, isn't it? What is it that Krishna didn't know he had?
Sweetness, his own sweetness.
Huh?
His own sweetness. His own sweetness.
His own sweetness, his own glory. So searching, he wanted to understand why Radharani loves me so much. What is it in me that she is seeing that I can't see myself? Actually, it's quite often the case, is it not, that when someone has wonderful qualities, they don't really know that they have wonderful qualities, because they're very humble and they're very, like Prabhupada, he was a wonderful personality, but they didn't think it themselves, but they were very wonderful people. So Krishna wanted to go searching, so he's searching after himself, and you know the story where Gadadhar is Srimati Radharani without her, right? So Radharani is so merciful to Krishna that she's prepared to give herself to him, in the sense that she will give her bliss and her ladini to you. You take it. But then Gadada was always watching over, because the power of Radharani's love is so strong that is not possible for people to handle such modern Makya Mahabhav. In fact, Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, Rag, Anurag, that Anurag that ever knew Radharani is ever new. What is it that's ever new about her? Is described by the acharyas, that fresh enthusiasm to love and to serve Krishna with great, vigor. And it's like sometimes you might see, we're old men, well, I'm old, but you guys are younger than me, but when you're very young, have a look at teenagers when they're 13, 14 years old. How much enthusiasm and vigor they have for life. How much they want to really enjoy life in so many different ways. So Radharani is like that. She is forever enthusiastic to give pleasure to Krishna, and every time they meet, is anurag is ever new. So that modern that Mahabhav coming from Srimati Radharani comes from that anurag of Radharani, and that Krishna cannot understand. That ever blissful enthusiasm and that love that she has. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was trying to understand, and he is distributing to his followers at the time. And there was all a huge arrangement, because when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, not only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, but also Srimati Radharani and all her friends also joined him. And therefore, to help Krishna understand the glories of Radharani's love, he needed the help of Srimati Radharani's friends. So Lalita, Vashaka, they also came to help him understand. This is the nature. If you love someone, you'll want to help them in so many different ways. So, this is the mystery of Krishna consciousness, this satam, these pure devotees like Kundalata. She speaks very enthusiastically about what is Krishna doing. And ultimately, Krishna consciousness brings one to the point where he becomes very interested in understanding relationships. Specifically, he's interested to hear about the relationships of Krishna and his friends. But not only that, in the scripture it says Krishna has 4 different, like there's dear Lalita Krishna, dear Prashant Krishna, dear Datta, and dear Dorota. Is that it? Yeah. There's 4 different aspects of Krishna. So one is dear Lalita is Krishna in Vrindavan. Then dear Prashant is Krishna with Arjuna and the Pandavas. He's in a different mood. And also I think it's dear Dutt is when Krishna is punishing Indra. And then Dhirota is when he is killing the demons. So anyway, Krishna has these different forms, but any one of these forms is very sweet, and all the leelas connected to them are very wonderful. Like Prabhupada said, Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and everything he did and everything he said is very sweet, actually, because it's telling the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And ultimately, Bhagavad Gita is saying, Mamana Bhakto Madhyajinam Namaskuru. Think of me, become my devotee. That is the essence. Give up all varieties of religion, Krishna says. Ultimately, he's encouraging us to don't worry about the 3 Vedas. I was going to discuss the Vedas, but we're getting... Because, we have the Rig Veda, Samar Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. These 4 Vedas, they have been summarized in the aphorisms of Vyasadeva, right? And that's the Vedanta Sutra. So all this vast knowledge has been knocked down to simple codes like Atatra Brahma Jigyasa, you are spirit. Okay, you are spirit. What do you mean by that? Well, that's just a code. Now elaborate further on what you mean by your spirit. So So this can be done, and the Bhagavatam is elaborating on it, Bhagavad Gita is elaborating on it. So the Srimad Bhagavatam and all the katha going on is from all parts of the Vedas, also from the Mahabharata and the Puranas. It's all contained in this Bhagavatam. Therefore, Mahaprabhu said you should read this Bhagavatam, because all the Vedas are contained within this, a summary of it. But, on the other hand, when it comes to the Vedas, we need a team of, I wrote to the GBC recently, I said, we need think tanks. Now, who would like to be part of a think tank? Raise your hand if you're a young geek. Because you go to you're young enough, sir. If you go to the Conservative Party or the Liberal Party or any, they'll have what they call think tanks. So the job of the think tank is, we've got this problem, that problem. Can you please figure out what we should do on this situation? So obviously, as it's going to progress on in its society, you're going to require knowledge of, for instance, what is, I say everything's connected to the Vedas, by the way, and I'm elaborating on that. What is the economic policy of the Vedas? What do we think of free market economics? What does the Vedas say about free market economics? How does it work? You might say, well, what's that got to do with Krishna consciousness? Well, actually, if you look deeply into the Vedas, it'll give you indications as to what fair trade should be. For instance, you should not encroach upon someone else's territory, isn't it? You've read that in the Nectar of... No, what is that? It's in the Nectar in Ishopanishad. Yeah. Don't encroach on others' territory, okay? So we have a farmer, he's local in Radlett. He's producing all the apples for everyone in the area. Okay, you happy with that farmer? You're getting your fresh crop. You know they're organic, and you know the farmer as well. Now, are you happy to buy apples from him? He's giving you a fair price. That's fine, isn't it? What's the difficulty? So buy off him then. But what is the globalists and the so-called free market economy? What they do is, there's a lorry coming, or there's a shipment coming over from Africa or some other country, or even, and they're coming in, and this company called Tesco's is coming into your area, and they bought all the apples, and they're going to set up a place right there, and now you buy off them now, and you can, and the local farmer, well, it's tough luck on him, he's out of business. So this is not good. This is not good. You couldn't do that in Vrindavan. Who's been to Vrindavan here? Everyone? Now, if you go and buy a sari in Vrindavan, how many sari shops are there? So many, right? If you want to go and buy a kurta or anything, there's so many small traders. So did Prabhupada comment on this? Yes, he did. He said that we should have local industries. So the Vedas describe all these things. They describe political systems, they describe economic systems, they describe justice systems, they describe just about anything, but we need to delve into what they've said when and how to apply it in today's world. That's called time, place, and circumstances. So the GBC have to set up think tanks, because ISKCON's going to go on for a long time. And we need to set certain policies, and people become very attracted. This is all connected to Krishna consciousness, because as we see here, people, they do not know about these perfect political systems. They don't know that Brahmins should be running things. You know, in the Vedic system, in the current Western civilization, number one is the global businesses. Number two are the politicians who are the puppets of the global globalists. Because to have free speech, you have to have a political party. To have a political party, you need funding. So the globalists come in and they tell you, this is what's going on. And the third group so you have the globalists, then you have the politician, then you have the working man, and the fourth is the intelligentsia. The intelligentsia are ignored. Only the intelligentsia that they want in their think tanks, but they're mostly materialists. When we say intelligentsia, we mean people that understand what is Brahman. Actually, there's two types of, in the Vedas, there's two types of intellectuals. One is one who knows what is Brahman, and the other are called Vipras. They are learned in certain topics, like, for instance, medicine, or they're learned in astrology or cosmology or whatever. These are people that know certain topics. So they are also Vipras. They can be utilized. But ultimately, the intelligentsia in the Vedic system is the Brahmins. Now, unless you have the Brahmins running society and the real intelligentsia, what will happen is, as we see in the world, you'll get corruption, and because it's just not the nature of a businessman to be able to think of everyone's needs. It's just not his nature. He just thinks about profit. That's all he wants. He can't think about what this person needs, what that person needs, or what. Just like that Karl Marx, he thought that religion was the opiate of the people. Okay, well, what do you know about what to do? How will you, what do you think should happen? How do we know that you know the best thing for the people? Of course he doesn't. And you take that further down, that's what we see in today's world. We'll find people who claim to know so many things about the welfare of people, but they know nothing. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Prabhupada, their idea is to establish the Vedas in no uncertain terms, not only the core aspects of the Vedas, but also the peripheral, in terms of political systems, economic systems, and so on and so forth. So this is all going on. It's a very, very deep aspects of what Krishna conscious mission is. And if you want to read Srila Bhakti Vakasha's book about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, you will see how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta thought of how to do that. But he also had great respect for the British, because, you see, you can't go to India, because in India they became, right, your culture, your country, when the British came, they could not understand why you had someone that cleans toilets has to clean toilets for the rest of their life, because they were born in a family of persons that clean toilets. Or so, you understand? So the British thought, why you have this idea that someone who's born in a particular family, automatically they become like that family. If they're a banker, they become bankers. If they're Brahmins, they become Brahmins. If they're apple orchard wallahs, they're apple. So there was no social mobility. So you will find that in the Vedas, and therefore Krishna says, Yada 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 shaglali bhavati bhavata. Over a period of time, things decline, corruption moves in, misinformation starts to creep into societies. Therefore Krishna again comes to establish truth. Again, or he sends his direct representatives. So the British indirectly told we're actually wrong here. That's not the way society works. Of course, the British were just as snobby themselves in so many ways, because they had the working classes and the aristocrats. But they had the idea that so basically they taught a few things, because Prabhupada said you can learn something from anyone. So now the point I'm making is that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta knew the British were pretty together in some respects. Therefore he sent his disciples to London and said, you should pay, these people are very together, they're very cultured, they understand so many things. So you try to appreciate what they are doing, but then add this Krishna consciousness to what they already have, and that will be very beneficial for them. But one other point he made was that the main thrust of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and Bhaktivedanta's preaching was that you should just give immediately the core values to everyone. Never mind all the peripherals, that can be there, but give the core values immediately to people. Even someone who's not qualified to understand it, give them that. So that's why you see the Hare Krishna movement on the streets, chanting Hare Krishna, giving out books, and telling whoever they are, even if they've done some bad things in their life, they can immediately take to Krishna consciousness. So that is the Mahaprabhu's mood, the Udurya, the magnanimous. Not that you have to wait to have so many pious activities first and then you can get it. Like the Hindu idea was that you cannot go back to Godhead because you have to take birth in the Brahmin family first, or you have to get yourself. But that wasn't Bhaktisiddhanta's mood, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood was you can immediately accept the highest thing. Anyway, so many topics are there. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is this, that he came to teach by example. This is a very important point. He could speak pure Krishna Gita because he was following properly. Unless you follow properly, you will not be able to speak properly. Therefore, Mahaprabhu taught that principle. That Vragya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshastramika Purusha Parayanaha. He came to teach, and he taught in a proper way, and those, if you learn properly, if you follow properly, then you will be able to, your guitar, it will be, actually I never got to the topic, which was Shabda Brahman. I had a whole thing here about Shabda Brahman, never mentioned it once. Anyway, this is Shabda Brahman. Shabda Brahman means, Shabda is sound, Brahman, pure sound. So all this, what Maitreya was doing, what all the Vaishnavas was doing, they are vibrating pure sound. So perhaps the next class, if I ever get an opportunity to give again, I shall talk about Shabda Brahman further. Okay, it's now 22. Everything's clear? Any questions? Nothing to be discussed here, I think. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai.